Dear Team Fortress 2, I love you. It's been a while since I played you, but recently I've been thinking about all the good times we had. About how you captivated me over a decade ago and just never let go. I'm reaching out because I wanted to talk to you, I guess. I miss you, but I also wanted to talk about your gameplay loop, your community, and the state of you today, and a few other things here and there, but I think that if I really want to do this letter justice, that I should probably start with when I first met you. When we first met, I was a kid, and you were a mystery. You brought my copy of the Orange Box, but you weren't like the other games on there, no. You required an internet connection. And because of that, I could never quite figure you out, but I think as we both know by now, that didn't quite stop me from trying. Remember how I used to boot up the game all the time and try and play it by myself? I would wander around these empty maps for hours just exploring and looking for the fine details, trying to find new ways to experience this game. I would swap between all the characters and teams, just fascinated by everything they can do and how different they all were. Back then, the spy and the engineer were my favorite classes because it just seemed like they had so much more to offer than the other classes on their own. You wouldn't believe how earth-shattering it is to find out that the engineer can upgrade his buildings just because you were blindly swinging a wrench around, or how mystifying the zapper is because while I could hold it in my hand and watch its idle animation, it has no apparent purpose with no enemy sentry. To child me, the possibilities with this game were just endless. I could taunt. I could rocket jump. I could disguise as the non-existent enemy team. I could leave the title screen open just a little bit too long and watch the trailer play as many times as I wanted. At one point, I even managed to spawn bots into the game, but for some reason they couldn't move and just did nothing, so I lost the opportunity. Though I think it's a real testament to how iconic, unique, fun, and diverse this game is that despite playing it by myself, I somehow never got bored, and it never really clicked with me that there were supposed to be other players around. And for some godforsaken reason, I continued playing this game like this for years, just by myself. All until one cold October day, a friend of mine showed me this absolutely amazing video. It went by the title, Meet the Spy. Now this was the coolest thing that I had ever seen in my entire life, and I just about died when I found out that there were 8 more videos just like it. Finally, I had more information on this game, and finally, after years and years and years of waiting, my friend finally asked me, do you want to play it? I picked the Heavy. The first map I ever played on was Cough Lakeside event, and I was bad at it. Given that this was the Halloween event, it probably set the bar I had for this game a little high, but I was seeing what this game was actually supposed to be when you had an internet connection. I was seeing what all these classes and their abilities were supposed to do. I could finally learn what a dispenser and a sentry were supposed to do. I could finally play the spy properly. I even collected some hats. It was some of the most fun I have ever had online. Now, I wouldn't end up getting the game myself until summer of that year, but on June 18th, 2013, I joined the party. And thus began my 1,000+ hour journey through this game. To say that it was worth the wait is an understatement. I find this game fascinating. The dynamics of this game are better than anything I've ever seen. The way classes interact with other classes, and the way that items create subclasses which result in different behaviors, and all the different ways an interaction can go depending on the items you're using for your subclass. Just imagine, there you are, pushing the payload on high tower when a spy heads your way. Reasonably, you shoot him and he dies. But behind him, you see a demo man running towards you. You get ready to jump out of the way of his mines, but instead he pulls out a sword and starts charging. Luckily, you have a pyro next to you, ready to air blast him out of the way. But unfortunately for the both of you, he has a flog and lacks an air blast ability. As you prepare for your demise at the hands of this demo knight, a soldier comes flying out of the air and market gardens the demo knight. The day is saved! Or is it? As it turns out, that spy from earlier was a dead ringer and has just backstabbed all of you. The absolute variety of weapons and items that lead to so many interesting interactions and behaviors and playstyles. The way map layout and team structure affects the gameplay and how all of this combines into what we know as the Team Fortress 2 gameplay loop. It is all genuinely fascinating. Now, as we've just established, there are thousands of ways to play, and I did them all. I was a hoovie. I was a market gardener. I was the fat scout. I actually wasn't ever a demo knight for some reason. That one never really quite clicked with me. But I was the battle NG. I was the pyro shark, the carbine sniper. I was the master of them all. They knew my name across the trade servers, the pubs. Skyle.com24 was my domain, and I ruled it for hours at a time. But at this point, I had really only seen the gameplay side of things, and that's really only half the reason that I love this game. The other half is the community. You see, for some time I must have been under the impression that this game just didn't exist online, but that all changed when I met a man named Muselk. That's right, the Muselk. One of the first big TF tubers, and this dude was awesome. I mean, he had it all. He was good at the game, he was funny, he paved the way for so many others, including myself, but more on that in a minute. Discovering Muselk opened so many doors for me. The community had Star, Funk, The Winglet, Uncle Dane, Dunkle. I remember watching videos like Red Zone before school in like 8th grade. This community was unlike anything I'd ever seen online. There were videos, animations, art, songs, and I wanted to be a part of it. So on October 29th, 2014, I posted my first ever Team Fortress 2 video titled Team Fortress 2 Halloween 2014. Which my brother had told me was a good and funny video, so from there, I aimed big. So big, in fact, that very same night I posted Team Fortress Halloween Part 2, and from there, not a soul could stop me. Bearing my Bandicam watermark and my skilled yet tasteful thumbnail theft, I was ready. I was making live commentaries, I was making funtages, I was making epic trolling for tens of people all around YouTube. But the general public wouldn't be satiated so easily. I had to innovate my content, and thus came The Heavy Friends, a series of 4 videos styled in movie trailers. Heavy Friends Civil War, Heavy Friends Origins, and finally, Heavy Friends Forever. Looking back, I actually still think these are pretty good videos for like a 14-year-old. After that, I paved the way for an entirely new genre of video within the Team Fortress 2 community, the TFMV, the world's first and probably last Team Fortress music video. And don't even get me started on my discovery of the Saxies. I was making horrible animations left and right, so bad in fact that my 2015 Saxie entry made a playlist titled The Worst Saxies of 2015. But despite all of it, I actually started to grow as a channel. I went from tens to hundreds and even occasionally thousands of views. And then I started to make Overwatch content, which is pretty much where the story ends, but one day I hit 1,000 hours on Team Fortress 2 and I thought I was bored of the game. So I posted a meme video of me uninstalling it and thought that I would never pick it back up again. And for that, I'm sorry, Team Fortress 2. I'm sorry for the years that I left you just sitting alone in my Steam library. But I just couldn't stay away. I came back. I was excited to see you again after years, but you were different. Gone were the endless games of having fun, having been replaced with hours of sifting through servers of bots. I had seen things online about the bots coming to the game, but I never really knew how bad it was. For a few months I tried to play the game, but it just didn't feel the same, and I thought I had lost you forever. There's something extremely sad about looking at the player stats for a game and seeing that there's 50,000 players online at 3 a.m., but hopping onto a server and seeing it filled with bots. Just you alone on a server with 16 beings pretending to be human. Now with the bots, it kind of feels the same as it did when I was a kid. Alone with no players, but still, even by myself, just content to view what this game could possibly offer me. Then something strange started to happen. YouTube began showing me names that I had never seen before. It appeared to be some kind of new wave of TF2 YouTubers, and along with them, hundreds of thousands of people flocking to watch. Could it be true? Did people still care about this decade-old game? I started to watch videos about this game for the first time in years, and it was surprisingly fun. I was inspired one last time to boot up the game, and after playing a few rounds, I couldn't put it back down. For the past few months, I've been playing again and having a blast. I cannot understate how much I love everything about this game. The style, the soundtrack, the community, the gameplay itself. It's something I could talk for hours about why it deserves more attention. Anyway, welcome to my channel. I'd like to invite you to join me as I reclaim my love for this game that I thought I had grown out of. Also, stream Darn on Spotify.